Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Crime 2 News First at 4. I'm Whitney Ward. Tonight, 5 days after the attack on 4 college students near the University of Idaho campus, just into our newsroom here shortly, we are learning new details from the Latah County Coroner's Office. However, we still have many remaining questions. Now, tonight we have team coverage of this breaking news. Amanda Rowley live at the house on King Road where those bodies were found with new details on this murder investigation. Janelle Finch is also in Moscow tonight with how the community is reacting. First, though, we turn to Mark Hanrahan, who is joining us here in the Crime 2 studio with what we've learned from the coroner's office this afternoon. Mark?
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Whitney. In the last hour, we received the cause and manner of death for all 4 murder victims. So take a look at this new information right here. The cause of death for Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, Madison, it's all listed as murder by stabbing. All were pronounced dead at noon on Sunday. Moscow police did say yesterday that all victims had been stabbed. The autopsy report confirms this, and it's now a murder investigation. What we still don't know, based on this report, is what time the victims were found. We don't know where in the home they were stabbed, where they were in the house, or if any of them fought back. We don't know who called 911. We don't know if one victim seemed to be more of a target than the others. These are all questions we have continued to ask Moscow police. Police officers have said they are keeping many of the details private right now to make sure they don't compromise their investigation. But we will continue to ask questions and bring you the very latest information just as soon as we get that. Whitney?
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Now, the bodies of 20-year-old Xana Kernodle, 21-year-old Madison Mogan, 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves, and 20-year-old Ethan Chapin were all found in a house just steps away from the University of Idaho campus. That was around noon on Sunday. Police have been keeping a lot of that information close, as we said, regarding this investigation. At a press conference just yesterday, the Moscow police chief laid out what they are willing to share with the public. Police confirmed all 4 students killed by a knife. However, they have not recovered that weapon. They also confirmed the victims were the only ones in the house when the bodies were found. 2 other roommates, though, were home at the time. Police say they were not hurt. They also believe there was no forced entry into the home. They gave more details about the scene just yesterday.
We're not 100% sure if the door was unlocked, but there was no damage to anything, and the door was still open when we got there.
Moscow police now appealing to the public for additional information. They have set up a tip line for people to call if they have any information that may be relevant to this investigation. That number, as you can see right there on your screen, it is 208-883-7180. The Idaho State Police also say they have seen an increase in tips since their press conference just yesterday afternoon, asking for more information. We are not getting a ton of information from the new autopsy report that was just released here in the last hour. However, there has been a lot of activity at the crime scene itself today. For more on that, we are turning straight to our Amanda Rowley live in Moscow. And Amanda, what have you seen there today?
Well, Whitney, at this hour, this crime scene still remains active, and it's Idaho State Police forensics team that are on site here. I've seen several people coming and going inside and out of the house, carrying boxes, wearing gloves. At one point, I believe I even saw a couple flashes believed to be from a camera coming from the windows inside the house. In fact, this afternoon, I did notice the back sliding door to the house was opened at one point today. We could see red markings stuck to the frame of the door. Now, Idaho State Police spokesperson Aaron Snell told me this afternoon it was believed that the potential suspect came through the sliding glass door. But again, there appeared to be no signs of forced entry. Now, he explained to me just a few hours ago what ISP's forensic team is working on at the scene right now.
They're just kind of reassessing the house. They're going through it. They're looking for any potential additional evidence. They're collecting it. They'll take additional photos. I mean, they're kind of going over it. It's a large crime scene, and not that anything in particular was missed. However, it's always good to have another set of eyes go over things, especially of a crime of this magnitude.
Now, we also confirmed today the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit is also assisting with the case. They do a variety of things, including crime analysis, create profiles of unknown offenders, offer investigative suggestions, and help with interview strategies. Now, ISP is also expecting an FBI command vehicle to arrive in Moscow to provide more workspace and additional resources for the investigation. Now, at this time, ISP says the roommates who were at the home during the attack but were not injured are in fact cooperating with investigators. And right now, they are not considered suspects or persons of interest, but ISP says they have not ruled anyone out. Tonight, Snell is insisting that no one has been cleared from this investigation. Reporting in Moscow, Amanda Rowley, Crime 2 News.
All right. Thank you very much, Amanda. Students and families there in that area still having a lot of questions about these murders. Some have criticized Moscow police for not sharing more information sooner. We spoke with the former Pullman police chief, Gary Jenkins, who is now serving as the interim chief at WSU. He told Creme 2 today, this early in the investigation, law enforcement always has to be careful about what details are made public.
Just trying to make sure that when detectives go out and interview people, it's based on what they know, not what they've heard on the news. And so it's really a balancing act for them, trying to release enough information so that if there is a potential threat, that the public can take precautions for that, but also at the same time not jeopardize a homicide investigation.
Moscow police have walked back on claims that the community is safe after Sunday's stabbings. At yesterday's press conference, Chief James Fry in Moscow said they could not guarantee that there is no threat to the public. The department and other agencies have since stepped up patrols around the community. Our Janelle Finch is now live in Moscow with more on that. Janelle?
The people I spoke to today here in Moscow say they commend the Moscow police for bringing in added resources, the Idaho State Police and FBI, to figure out who could have committed these crimes against these students. Today on Facebook, the Moscow School District informed parents that Idaho State Patrol cars would be monitoring the area around its 7 schools as they are in town to support local police in finding who's responsible for 4 murders earlier this week. One Moscow School District mom says she's thankful Moscow PD are calling on the necessary agencies to help figure out what exactly happened on Sunday and protect the community.
Being around town today, this morning, I noticed quite a few more law enforcement just out and about. I'm really grateful for them.
In a press conference yesterday, we learned from the Moscow Police Chief, James Fry, that the department has called on 25-plus investigators, the Idaho State Police and FBI, to assist in solving this case. As we've mentioned at this time, no suspect is in custody. The Moscow Police Department maintains that this was a targeted attack. And for that reason, the people I spoke to here in Moscow today say they don't personally feel threatened in the community. But still, the University of Idaho is telling people here to remain vigilant and share any and all information you can with Moscow police. Live in Moscow, Janelle Finch, Creme 2 News.
All right, Janelle, thank you very much. And we are continuing to track this news coming out of Moscow tonight. For all of our reporting so far on these deaths, you can go to creme.com for our complete coverage.
Welcome, everyone. Yes, very sad news coming out of Moscow, Idaho. It's very interesting. Okay, so as you heard, Sunday there were 4 students of the University of Idaho that have that were found stabbed to death. Now, it's very as you know, following these kind of cases, stabbings tend to be very personal, unless it's like a serial killer or something. Even then, there's a personal element to it. There's definitely a rage element to it. So the fact that at least assuming at this point, since the survivors in the apartment are not considered suspects or persons of interest, and they survived, I'm grateful for that. But this is going to be one of those cases that are going to be really tough because they don't have a suspect yet. At least they haven't stated publicly that they do. They don't have a person of interest yet. At least they have not stated publicly that they do. So this is going to be frustrating. And I feel for the citizens of Moscow because, they don't feel safe. This is something that clearly doesn't happen in a town like that. And the people there are naturally and understandably shooken up. We're going to go over a few things here. There's just a few things we're going to go over. There's quite a bit. I'm going to go over the press conference that took place yesterday. So we have a better understanding, at least what law enforcement is looking at right now. This way we get a better idea of what law enforcement's perspective is more or less. So.
Right here. My name is Chief James Fry with the Moscow Police Department. I'm going to be reading from my notes today because I want the information you received to be extremely accurate. We know you have questions, and so do we. That is why we're here. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this press conference. Joining me today is the Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, University of Idaho President Scott Green, Provost and Vice President Tori Lawrence, University of Idaho Dean of Students Blaine Eccles, Latah County Sheriff Richie Skiles, Chief Deputy of Latah County Tim Best, Idaho State Police Colonel Kedrick Wills. The Moscow Police Department would like to extend our condolences to all family members, friends, the University of Idaho, and the Moscow community. This was a horrible crime that took the lives of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. This horrible crime has affected all of us.
Welcome, Lou Bailey.
The families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45. If anyone in our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the victim's whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case.
That number is
we
at the
know
bottom
right
of the
now.
screen, guys. Thank you,
We know
Cherry.
that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon,
Thank you,
Moscow
Matt Cotter.
officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road. The four were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence. Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline to relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we do know, or what we don't know, excuse me, the identity and location of the suspect, the location of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police. We're reviewing video that has been collected, but we are asking citizens to contact us with any information you may have that will help in this investigation. Once again, we're asking anyone with a tip to call the tip line at 208-883-7180. At this time, I would like to introduce the University of Idaho President, Scott Green.
Thank you, Chief Fry. I'm Scott Green, President of the University of Idaho, and with me is Tori Lawrence. He's our Provost, and Blaine Eccles, our Dean of Students, will be available for questions after all of the statements are made. The crime, to us, this crime and the loss of these young lives is just simply beyond comprehension. While our small community is certainly not immune to such things, it's not a situation our close-knit campus is used to dealing with. First, my deepest condolences to the families.
No, simply updated. This is yesterday. Their bodies were found on Sunday.
Friends of Ethan, Kaylee, Zena, and Madison.
Oh my
Excuse
God.
me.
I've never seen this before. I've never seen the
Their
president
loss
of a
has been
school.
devastating, and they were bright lights in our community and are deeply missed and remain in our thoughts and our prayers. We've been working with Moscow police
Now,
since
this guy doesn't have a political agenda here. He's the president of the school, you know? Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that, Annie. This guy is the president of the school. You know, he's clearly emotionally distraught about this. His heart genuinely goes out to these families and these victims. So my heart's with him right now, most definitely.
we were notified on Sunday of the crime. We've helped with, we've helped when asked and continually pushed for information whenever possible, knowing that we cannot interfere with the important work and good investigations that are occurring. We just want justice for these victims. Our focus at the university is to support our students and our employees. We are encouraging students and employees to take care of themselves as we head into Thanksgiving break. I want to take a moment to commend our faculty and staff who have been on the front lines helping our students, whether that is providing counseling to those in need of support, accommodating those who want to travel home, or engaging those who find comfort in staying busy interacting with their peers and our instructors in class. Our employees stepped up when our students needed them. While we have relied heavily on the expertise of Moscow Police, we feel confident that remaining open with flexibility to leave allows our students to decide what is best for them. The weeks ahead will continue to challenge us as this loss and the circumstances around this crime become known. We will support each other as we grieve, and we'll move through this together as a Vandal family. Thank you.
I would like to have Colonel Kedrick Wills come to the podium, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Kedrick Wills. I serve as the director of the Idaho State Police. And as we have this discussion today, I'd like to express my appreciation for your attendance here, because it's important, vitally important, that we get the information that we have out to the public. Crime knows no boundaries, and these murders have shaken us to our very core. You heard the university president as well as the chief of police talk about this small community, and it's a very close, tight-knit community. And our hearts break for the families that lost their loved ones, the University of Idaho, the Moscow community, and even within our entire state. Be assured, the Idaho State Police is firmly in support of the work that the Moscow Police Department is doing, and we are providing every resource that we can to make sure that this comes to a conclusion. And the person.
Real quick, let me address, because I see some comments regarding the other students that were in the house and they were sleeping, and they didn't hear anything. Simply updated, and it's a fair enough question. But I want us to really be careful here. I'm not attacking you, Simply. I mean, like I said, it's a legit thought, But before we start to snowball with that thought is what I'm getting at here. Let's be very careful, okay? Let's be very careful. We don't know the circumstances. We weren't there. I don't want this to start snowballing into finding out or feeling like these people are suspicious in any way, shape, or form. We don't have enough information to indicate that yet. So I just want to be very careful with that, guys. This is the channel that you go to not do that, or at least one of them. This is one of the channels that you go to not do that. Okay. We don't have enough information. We don't know the circumstances. We don't know. Maybe they were just passed out drunk. Maybe the walls are thick. We don't know. Okay. So please, now, I don't think that their names have been released as of yet, but make no mistake, they will be. So please, moving forward, please be careful because other channels are going to get a hold of this and other channels are going to start pointing fingers. And I don't want you guys to go down that road. If you are more entertained by going down that road, this is not the channel for you. Okay. I just want to be abundantly clear about that.
Person or people that this is responsible are brought to justice. It's so important that you understand that this takes a team effort. This is teamwork with the university, with this Moscow City Police Department, the Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It takes everybody to be able to do this. And it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act of getting the community the information that they need to have with making sure that we provide a case that the Latah County Prosecutor's Office can go forward with. Governor Little, Idaho's governor, has assured me that the full weight of all the resources we have within our state are available to Chief Fry and to his team. Our crime lab is also involved with processing evidence, and our law enforcement throughout the region, state and federal agencies continue to provide resources. From the Idaho State Police's perspective, we provided detectives here from this area, as well as detectives from out of the area, state police detectives, as well as patrol resources and communications assistance as well to provide for Chief Fry and his team. Following this briefing, our communications director from the Idaho State Police, Aaron Snell, if you'd raise your hand, Aaron, he will be the contact for all press media inquiries from here on out. He'll be working closely with Chief Fry and his team. And we have additional, like I said, additional patrol and investigation resources brought to bear here as well. We want to do everything we can to make sure that this is done correctly and that the people that are responsible for this are brought to justice.
So at this time, I'm going to open it up to some questions that I'm sure you have, and we'll do the best we can to answer those for you.
All right, get ready, guys. Get ready to hear a lot of we're not at liberty to discuss that. That's still part of an open investigation. You're going to hear that answer, at least in variations, plenty in a minute.
Hello, Chief Ray. Thank you for having us. I'm Amanda Rowley with Crime 2 News. You mentioned that there's an indication that it's an isolated, targeted incident, and there is an individual somewhere. Can you give us a reason as to why there's that belief there is a suspect? And can you also give a little more information on the forced entry? There's no sign of forced entry, but was the door, did it seem like any of the entries were left unlocked by any means?
I'll answer the last part there just because it's at the front end of my mind. We're not 100% sure if the door was unlocked, but there was no damage to anything, and the door was still open when we got there.
And my first question,
Yeah.
if you'd like me to read.
No, I think I haven't. In these cases, we take the totality of the things that we see, and they're very dynamic, right? And they're very big, and there's a lot of information, and we try to take that information, and some of it we can't share with you, correct? But we try to take that information, we try to make the best educated decision we can. We review that as a team with our detectives, along with our prosecutors, along with the university, and we try to make that best decision on that. So we, at that time, believe that there was no a threat, and our goal is to provide safety for this community. That's why we're bringing in the resources we're bringing. We want a close to this, and we want to do everything we can to let the people in our community know that we care. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be safe, and we're going to do everything we can to do that.
If I could add one more question. You asked for videos or anything from the community to help put together that timeline. We obtained a copy of Twitch video, and family members of the Gonsalves family were able to identify Maddie and Kaylee in those videos at a food truck ordering food. Is the police department, our investigators, aware of that video, and has it helped put together that timeline?
We are aware of that video, and it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that two of our victims were, and that helps us a ton, and we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can and continue to gather those.
Any indication of a party at the home that night?
And this will be the last one, okay? I understand. Not that we know of, not at the home. We know that the other, let me get the names exactly right here. We know that Zaina and Ethan were at a different party on campus. But that timeline will still help us if other people know about that.
Thank you.
Chief Wright, John Webb with KHQ. On September 12th,
let me put a pause here, or hopefully a stop to the semantic argument that's going into the chat right now. That's going on in chat. If the names were released, the names were released. Okay. I was not aware that the names were released yet, but my solution to this little semantic argument that we're all having here, we all know better here. We all know better. The whole point is we don't jump to conclusions and start accusing people of things. We're adults. So even if we do have those names and those names are public, we as adults, as responsible people who follow crime cases, know better than to try to contact them or start throwing accusations at them, is the overall point here. Okay. So whether or not the names were released is irrelevant. The point is we have to behave responsibly with the information given to us, period.
There was a Vandal alert that was sent out about a potential stabbing threat on Paradise Path. Does this have any connection with what we've seen so far?
Not that we know of it, but we're following up every lead. Every piece of information we get, we are following up to ensure that nothing has gone unturned. We want to have the individual identified, who is the suspect of this eventually. So we are literally looking into every aspect of everything.
And you guys have said repeatedly that there's no threat to the public, but we don't know who the suspect is. We don't know where he's at. How is there no threat to the public at this point?
Well, that's kind of an unknown. Like I said, we took the information that we had at the time, but we do need to be aware the individual is still out there, right? We need to be vigilant. We need to watch out for our neighbors. We're a community policing community. We've said that for years, and it's a community that watches out for each other. We need to continue to do that until we can close this off and make an arrest.
Why has there been such limited information over the past couple of days? I mean, we're almost 4 days into this. Why has it been so limited?
Yeah, it's a difficult, we have a lot of information coming in, and, we have tried to push out some information through press releases. But the reality is, I probably should have been standing here a day or so ago, but I'm here now. We're going to continue to be here. We're going to continue to give you the information we can. We care about this community. I care about this community. I've worked here for 27 years. I want this community to be the safest community around. So
The mayor's called it a crime of passion. Is there any indication that that's true?
we're looking into every aspect of this. I'm not going to stipulate whether it's one thing or another. We're going to continue to investigate until we have the facts, because really it's the facts that will drive what the cause of this is. And as we gather evidence, we'll get that. So.
Okay. One last
Somebody
question, if I could, Chief. Have we looked at any boyfriends or any ex-boyfriends, any spouses as a potential suspect?
I'm not going to answer that.
I will tell you, we are looking at everyone. Every tip we get, every lead we get, there's no one that we're not going to talk to. There's no one we're not going to interview. There's no one that we're not going to look into. And we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to make sure that nothing goes unturned, and that we do everything we can with the assistance of all the resources we have to get a final answer.
Thanks, Chief.
So there were, sorry, I'm Emma Efferly with this.
Let me address
Hi.
Judge Judy's comment real quick. She's saying that somebody from Police Off the Cuff said that he didn't agree, that he said the community isn't in danger. That could just mean that based on the information that they have so far, they feel that it was an isolated and targeted incident. But make no mistake, in the video that we just saw, the state police, in order to keep the citizens, to preserve the citizens' feeling of security, they are making themselves present around all of the public schools in the area. They're really beefing up their police presence in the area. So whether or not he says that he doesn't think, obviously he's looking out for the public's best interest. And also part of that is to not put the public in a panic state. If this was a situation where there was a terrorist involved, well, the whole thing with terrorism is they try to take away our way of life. They try to rob us of our everyday way of life. They try to terrorize us, make us feel afraid. So these law enforcement agencies are collectively trying to make sure that the public feels safe. And part of feeling safe is to not be in a panic. And to move on with their everyday life, keep the economy rolling, everybody keeps on shopping like they would normally do. Everybody keeps going to school like they normally would. So we have to consider all of those factors, people. And that's not to say anything negative about the gentleman in Police Off the Cuff. I like that channel. But I didn't hear that. I didn't hear him say that. I'm just addressing that. To say that they don't agree with him saying that he doesn't believe that the public is in danger, well, for the reasons that I just said, would probably explain why he would say that. That's all I'm saying.
So there were other roommates who lived at that residence. Were the roommates home at the time of the attack?
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them. We're focusing on everybody that may be coming and going from that residence.
So since they were home, was it a hostage situation?
No, it was not.
And then did they didn't call it into police. So were they injured?
They were not injured. But like I said, we're still following up with everybody that could have been in that area.
And how can you say it's a targeted attack if you don't have a suspect?
Like I said, we take the totality of the situation. We try to make the best bit of information we can with everything that comes in, and then we make our decision off of that. So at this time, I'm not going to expand upon that. But like I've said, we do have a suspect out somewhere, and we are looking for that individual to solve this.
Hi, Rachel Sun, Northwest Public Broadcasting. I just want to clarify something you said earlier. Over the past couple of days, the information that we've been getting is there's not a threat to the public. Then earlier I heard you say you can't be assured that there is no threat. I just want to clarify what your stance is on that at this time.
So we still believe it's a targeted attack. But the reality is there's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible, horrible crimes. So I think we got to go back to there is a threat out there still, possibly. We don't know. We don't believe it's going to be to anybody else. But we all have to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're watching out for each other.
Right. Lock
Okay,
your
and then
doors.
one other follow-up.
Travel in
I know you
pairs.
said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing.
Judge Judy,
It
it's
seems,
okay.
just from an outside
It's not
perspective looking
necessary.
in,
Thank
like,
you.
That would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do caregiving check on the individual who was unconscious that we found the scene that we found.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked. So the other 2 roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So,
So let me elaborate on that a little bit. Let's explore that for a second. I can't elaborate because I don't have the information, but let's explore that for just a second. If I'm a defense attorney, or if I'm a juror, I'm going to wait for a defense attorney to come up with all kinds of different things that would possibly explain that. Some might go right to the whole, okay, well, they're trying to cover things up and they're trying to come up with a story. And that's why it took so long to call 911. That's why they waited till noon the next day. Or they're college kids who got hammered drunk the night before because it was Sunday where they were found. Sunday. So that means it was Saturday night when things took place, late Saturday night when all of this took place. And so, they're college kids, dude. They're college kids in their 20s, early 20s. Only one of the victims was 21. The others were 20. You're going to tell me these people weren't drinking and having a good time? That's the plus side of going to college. That's the part that's fun of going to college. You no longer have parental supervision and you're getting hammered drunk on the weekends and partying and having a good time, making memories. So, when you're hungover, you tend to sleep till noon if you're drinking till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, right? And you're sleeping in. Dude, I didn't go to college, but when my brother was in college and he was on vacation, my cousin, same thing. My cousin, who's a doctor now, he's a pediatrician. And when he was in college, we would have these Christmas visits, and he'd be home from college. The dude slept all the time. He was always sleeping. Always. You know how much studying it takes to get a degree in college? in a university, my brother was constantly studying. So when he came home on vacation, made sure all of his studying was done, and he slept when he came home from college. That's all he did. He just slept. So you're going to tell me on a Sunday these people aren't going to sleep till noon? That's somehow suspicious? Come on, guys.
That's why we're investigating everything still, to try to pull all the pieces together.
Were they one of the people, were they the 911 caller?
At this point in time, I'm not going to divulge who our 911 caller is, just because I want to keep the integrity of the investigation at this point. Okay.
Okay. And last question, are you able to tell whether the same weapon was used on all 4 victims?
You know, that's why we're having the autopsies done. The autopsy will confirm that and hopefully collect some evidence for us, even from those. That's why you do the autopsy.
I don't like this reporter at all.
And try to gather more. So we'll leave that. That would probably be something that would come out later.
Like he just said. He said at the beginning of the press conference that the autopsy was being done. How is he supposed to know if the same knife was used on all the victims? How's he supposed to know that yet? This reporter sucks. And she's already trying to allude to potentially innocent people being suspects and trying to spin that narrative to sell more, magazines or papers or whatever, obviously virtually speaking. But I mean, come on. That's just irresponsible.
Not later.
Excuse me, Derek Shug, Fox News Digital. Was there anything missing in the home, or were the purses still there? Any robbery attempt, anything like that?
Nothing that we have identified.
What's up, Scott Joyce?
And I'm going to take about 2 more questions. All right.
Hi, I'm Tim with the Daily Evergreen. I was just wondering, were the 2 other individuals present at the home when police responded at noon?
Yes.
Chief, if you don't mind elaborating a bit more on those 2 people. Was it 2 people? What have those people shared about the circumstances of that night, what they saw or didn't see?
Well, I'm not going to go into what they shared that night. Obviously, that's part of our investigation. That's part of the information that we're trying to build our complete story with. So at that, as far as that goes, we're not going to go any further into what they know and what they don't know.
How many were there?
We believe 2.
Chief, have you looked into the social media accounts of all the different victims? And do you, we understand that one may have had an account linked to her Instagram account. Have you looked into those accounts? Have you seen any sort of threats made to any of the individuals?
So we are looking at all resources. We got
that takes forever.
Bureau of Investigation helping us. We got our detectives, our forensic detectives looking into that. We're trying to pull this whole picture. We're looking at everything that we can look at, social media, etc. So to answer your question, yes, we are.
Were the victims all found in one part of the house?
I'm not going to divulge that either. That's part of our investigation. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close this off. But if you have any questions for the university, we'll open that up at this point in time.
I mean, it's still very early in the investigation, Marika.
Chance to ask a question. Yes, over here.
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Actually, I had a question for the chief, so I don't know.
Okay, well, you want to pass it?
Okay. What is the university doing to make their students feel safe?
Yeah, great question. At this time, I think I'll turn this over to Blaine, who's been dealing directly with our students and dealing with those that truly still feel unsafe despite some of the assurances and things that we're doing. Blaine?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. A question of safety is on everyone's mind right now. We have increased campus safety patrols. Our executive director of campus safety and security, Jake Nichols, is out in the hallway actually here, and so I'm sure he'd be able to answer some of those questions. We have a campus safety escort where students can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to arrange for a security escort to be escorted across campus during the day or night. It doesn't matter at any point in time. We're also providing resources to students to help them navigate through this from an emotional standpoint. We've had drop-in counseling that has been utilized both in our counseling center as well as the student union building. And we're also supporting students, like President Green indicated, that if they want to leave and go home now, they absolutely can. We're going to support them in doing so. Many students have questions about their academics and whatnot, but this is a very dynamic, fluid situation, and we want to make sure we're supporting students and their families to get through this the way that
That's
they need
great, man.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is great.
Washington State University is about 8 miles
Good
that
for
way.
them.
What would you suggest that Wazoo does to make their students feel safe if they're unsafe?
Yeah, communication and encouraging students to reach out and use resources. That's a fantastic campus. I talked to their dean of students office yesterday, and they are mobilizing their support resources. All campuses have supports in place. Students just need to make sure they're leaning in and reaching out to it. And many times students don't, but we encourage that, absolutely.
Hi, this is Hadia Thark with the Argonaut. This may be a question for Scott Green or Blaine.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened there.
Class.
There we go.
They gain
Yeah, I think it's just a glitch in the video.
comfort from
I apologize for that.
interacting and staying busy with their faculty and attending classes, labs. Some are working on their semester projects. So we've heard from them. At the same time, we want to provide the ability for any student who did not feel comfortable staying around, who did not want, who was unable to process that way, that they had that opportunity to go, and we've been helping them as well. All these absences are excused. We've asked our faculty to work with those students who chose to go, so we felt this is the best way, to respond, to give as much flexibility as we could to our students and our faculty to help manage the situation. And frankly, I think they've done a very, very good job. Thank you.
Is the university working with the parents or the families of the victims? Are you in touch with them?
They are. I'll turn that back over to Blaine. I know he's been we both have been in contact with the families, but he's been very close to it.
I've been asked to review Reddit, and nothing against any of the channels that have, but I won't use. I don't use social media unless it's like a social media post from somebody directly involved in the case. I don't look into social media. I stay out of Facebook groups. I don't go through Reddit. I mean, it's just people's opinions, as far as I'm concerned. And it's hearsay. Oh, well, I go to that school and I know the student and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear that. I don't review that stuff. So I don't. Yeah. So if you're wondering why I'm not going to go through any of the Reddit stuff, that's why. I never have. I'm not going to start now.
And so, Blaine, you want to take that question?
Absolutely. One of the hardest jobs I have is talking to parents of students who have died. It's the absolute worst part of my job. And so I've reached out and made contact with all the families. We've offered our support, and we're going to stay in constant contact with them. I communicated with them almost every day. We usually give it a little space and time before we reach out, just for the sheer shock of absorbing the loss of a child and what that looks like. But we're going to stay in support of them moving forward for the weeks and months to come, and in whatever capacity they need.
We've talked to a few of them, and they've expressed some frustration with the lack of communication from investigators and from the officials involved on that side of it. Has the university heard that from them? How are you working with them to help kind of close that communication gap?
Sure. I do know that Captain Barrett from the Moscow Police Department is also in constant contact with them. He reaches out to them on a regular basis. From that standpoint, I think it's safe to say everyone, the families most of all, want information, and they want justice. And I can't do anything but honor what their needs are and what they are. Whenever I hear a concern from the family members about what's going on, I'll definitely make sure I communicate that to the Moscow Police Department. They're very busy. They're working, the men and women of this department are working really hard on their behalf and on our community's behalf. But if I can be a conduit to share information, we're absolutely going to do that.
Has there been any update on the candlelight vigil that is postponed until after the break?
I believe
It's
November
Vigil,
30th.
not visual.
We're
I don't know why people keep doing that.
We're trying to finalize, well, let me
Yeah.
There was a candlelight vigil that was originally scheduled tonight, but because of the volume of students who have left, we want to make sure we're creating a space where they can participate. We don't want someone driving back during this time to do that. So we have rescheduled to November 30th. We haven't finalized the time. We will definitely be sharing that out to our students in our community and the larger community. We're just finalizing some details. We're going to communicate that with the families as well. It'll be on campus. We haven't figured out the location yet because we're going to be monitoring what the weather looks like. We anticipate a large amount of individuals. That being said, we also have two communities that are just providing beautiful support. There's a candlelight vigil in Boise tonight in honor of our lost students. And there's also a candlelight vigil tonight in Coeur d'Alene. And I say nothing but thank you and for the love and support from those communities that are supporting us. And we've seen that support come across the country and around the world for the University of Idaho and these families. And so it's a beautiful thing.
President Green, could you talk a little bit about the Vandal alert that involved the knife and how the university handled it and what you found in that case?
Yeah, so basically we were just responding to the information that we had from the Moscow Police Department at that time. We have an incident response team. We gathered Sunday as we were notified by the Moscow Police Department that there had been a crime committed. At the time, we weren't sure if they were students or not, and we wanted to provide help to the Moscow.
Melissa,
Police
these are
Department,
representatives
and we
of
think
the
we were able to do
university
that successfully to
talking
help
right
them,
now.
identify
Currently,
those students
the individual
and,
talking is the president
contact
of the
their
university.
relatives. So, beyond that, it was just trying to understand what the assessment was of the risk to the campus. And we relied on our subject matter experts, as you've heard. They know more than any of us about this, and then based on that, we started making decisions about how to move forward this week.
Yeah, and so what were those decisions around that initial alert? What was the conclusion you had at that point about the level of risk?
Well, of course, your first, on the first Vandal alert, it was high risk. We had really no information, and we asked our students to shelter in place, and until we got the all clear, from, well, it wasn't all clear, but a reduced risk where we could where students could start to move around more freely. We had people sheltering in places like the library and the Pittman Center and places around campus, and we didn't want to keep them there all night if we didn't have to. And so as soon as Moscow Police Department determined that it was safe for them to begin moving around but be vigilant, we sent the other Vandal alerts.
Yeah, my apologies. I was referring to the earlier Vandal alert involving the threatening with the knife that happened in September.
Yeah, you want to respond to that? Thank you, Blaine.
So that Vandal alert, we had a group of students walking back to Greek Row from a location off campus. They encountered an individual who was not affiliated with the university. They got into, from my understanding, a verbal altercation, and he ended up flashing a knife at them. It was not a stabbing. It was not a stabbing attack. It was a threat to the best that we know. We sent out a Vandal alert warning the individuals of our campus community at that time. I don't have the specific date, but it's out there from that aspect of it. And it's my understanding that individual then later turned himself into law enforcement, and they've addressed what that happens.
So it's not connected in any way to this homicide?
That's a question for law enforcement.
You know who he is?
I know about the incident. I don't know the individual because he's not affiliated with the university. So
it's okay,
my
perfectly.
understanding he turned himself
Fixed
into law
it.
enforcement. So I can't answer the question of whether he's connected with this or not.
So we want to thank you again for coming. That's going to be all the questions we take at this time. We appreciate you coming and spending time with us, and we will continue to put out information as we have time. And we want to reassure the community that the Moscow Police Department and everybody working on this will do everything we can. We love this community. We've a lot of us have went to the University of Idaho, and we are Vandals, and we will do everything we can.
All right, so guys, we got a few things to go over. Got a few things to go over here. So And here we have some CCTV footage. And this is footage of the students prior, hours before they were found dead, it says here. I have not seen this yet.
That's the second one? Awesome.
I'm going to remove this for now.
Maybe
Here.
I didn't have a few.
It's right here.
And then what was the next
Don't
one?
forget to remove the
The
scrutiny.
carbonite.
The carbonite Mac of the week.
Here, I'll grab it for you.
Excellent. And then click see rewards.
Enjoy.
And it looks like you do not quite have enough points yet.
Is the police department, our investigators aware of that video and has it helped put together that timeline?
Dude, thank God for food trucks, bro. Seriously, late night food trucks. Oh my God.
Are aware of that video, and it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that two of our victims were, and that helps us a ton. And we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can and continue to gather those.
We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road.
One second here. And right here, we've got an interview with the sister of one of the victims. And I'm going to go ahead and play that. We're going to go over that here real quick.
Very sorry to meet you this way. What do you want people to know about your sister?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to know about Kaylee is she was a go-getter and she was an absolute fighter. And I want people to take this personally because she was everyone's daughter. You know, she's the neighbor, she's the friend. You know, she was the girl who made your coffee in the morning. And everyone should be taking this personally.
So we're taking it personally, and it doesn't make any sense, certainly not to you. In terms of what you understood about your sister's life, was there any threat that she had ever had? Was there anybody who was coming after her on social media? Did she have a past, a problem with a boyfriend or a friend?
can't stand this
Anything to
guy.
inform why somebody would do something so violent to her, her friend, her other roommate, and her boyfriend?
Absolutely. There's nothing. There's no boy problem. There's no threat. There's no high-risk lifestyle that could have indicated this. It has taken all of us completely by shock, and we have absolutely no ideas. None.
Now, your frustration, other than just dealing with the tremendous loss for your family, is what in terms of the investigation?
I think this happened in a small town, and I absolutely understand that local authorities were probably overwhelmed, and I don't blame them at all. They did exactly what they should have done. But we're losing critical time, and I want more coverage. I want more done. I understand that we can't release information. It's an ongoing investigation. I don't ask for that. I don't want to impede on anything, but I want more people speaking out. And if that takes the police to push that agenda, that's fine. But unfortunately, I feel like it's been me and the families pushing that agenda, and that's been really difficult.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com.
Shut up. Your brother sucks.
And you can find News Nation on your television provider. And
So let me go over that CCTV footage one more time real quick. Like somebody's talking about a dude with a hoodie. I want to see what you're talking about. All right.
That's the second one? Awesome.
So
Maybe I didn't have a.
are you talking about this dude with the hoodie? Because he's
and
got
then
somebody
close
right there
the-
next to him and they're just talking and they're not looking their direction at all.
Here, I'll grab it for you.
Excellent. And then click see rewards.
Enjoy.
See, this is why we
And
got to
it
be
looks like you've not
careful,
quite
man.
had enough ones yet.
Is the police department, our investigators aware of that video and has it helped put together that timeline?
We are aware of that.
That
video,
dude in
and
the
it has
hoodie's
helped.
not
It gives
even
us-
remotely interested in them. See, this is why we got to be careful about what we say, people. This is how rumors get started and they get perpetuated. And then people could try to find out who the guy in the hoodie is. And he's just a dude trying to get a burrito after he's at the bar. You know what I mean? Like, you guys got to be really careful with that shit, man. You know, we don't do that here. Understand that we don't do that here. This is not the place to do that. And as far as Kaylee's sister goes, I love what she was saying because she wants more people talking about it. See, that's a perfect example of being like, how great would it be if all YouTubers that talked about this thing behaved in a responsible manner? Because she's saying, I understand law enforcement. She's like, I want everybody talking about this. But the flip side to that, the negative to that, is that you get idiots that talk about it and then they start perpetuating rumors and they start pointing fingers at innocent people. And look at what happened with the Gabby, or not the Gabby Petito case, but the Kylie Rodney case. You know, look at what happened with Jagger. Look what AWP did with Jagger. Look at what Sammy Smith kind of did to herself at first, but it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. Common sense already came into play, and then people were still talking about Sammy Smith and making her out to be guilty of some sort of crime that never even took place. Kylie Rodney's death was an accident. Period. That's it. And yet everybody, you know, can you imagine how many times she was messaged and called a murderer and a bad friend and blah, 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 blah. You know, I mean, does she deserve that? You know? And here's this dude. He's not even looking in their direction. And then there's somebody in my chat talking about, oh, he was stalking him. Like, no, he wasn't. He was talking to his friend. He wasn't even looking in their direction. And he was just waiting for his turn to get a burrito or something. You know, like, people, come on. All right. And here we have the parents of one of the victims. It doesn't say which one yet, but I'm sure.
Tell me how you guys are doing.
That's a tough question.
That is a tough question.
Well, because it's kind of a stupid question. How are you guys doing? What do you mean, how are they doing?
It's not something you ever expect to hear, ever. Like the call we took from our kids who were there, and
Ethan's parents, thank you.
you just expect to outlive your kids. Honestly, I don't know. We're just trying to process it. It's not a call that you think that you're going to have to speak with the funeral home directors and the FBI and have.
Can you imagine one of your kids it goes off to college? They're on that bridge. They're on that bridge, metaphorically speaking, of being in an independent, successful individual ready to take on the world. They're out of the nest, you know. Dude, All right, hold on one second. Quit spamming my chat with that madness, please. Thank you. You can sit in the corner for about 300 seconds and think about that. Oh my God. Y'all need to shut up about the hoodie guy. Seriously, shut the fuck up about the hoodie guy. You're getting on my nerves. Like, so what if he didn't buy food from the truck? It doesn't matter. He wasn't even looking in their direction. There's nothing to indicate that that guy's suspicious in the slightest bit. You guys just took CCTV footage that became available and you're letting your minds wander because you want something to be made out of that. You want to find something. You want to sleuth and be like, oh my God, we have camera footage of the victims hours before, so I bet you I'm going to find a clue. No, you're not necessarily going to find a clue. Okay? And you're not trained to look at it and find a clue. So simple. Yeah, and you're out of here. So, but yeah, like simply calm down, people. Simply calm down. Let cops do their jobs. We're not here to sleuth. We don't do that here on this channel. We're not trained investigators. You're not trained investigators. Okay? Now, going back to the point I was making, imagine that you have a kid who goes off to college. The last thing that you're going to expect, I mean, you fear things like, oh, well, maybe they get in a car accident because somebody that they were hanging out with was drinking and driving, possibly, whatever, right? You might fear that, but you're not going to expect that they were in their home where they sleep and get stabbed to death. You're not going to ever expect that call. There's no way you're ever going to you're ever going to imagine, unless there's something wrong with you. I mean, that's an insane thing. I can't imagine what these parents are going through. I cannot even begin to imagine what they're going through right now.
And have it hit national news. I mean, we're more concerned, Ethan was a triplet, and that's a big thing. There's a couple of things. Ethan was a triplet, and that's the most important thing for us because we have these other two kids that are very impacted by this. And they need to be lifted up and cared for. And I think the other thing that's important to us is the reason why we've agreed to do this is, number one, you're local. And number two, it's important for us to get Ethan's story out. We don't really want anybody else representing him. And it's hard to have people speaking on his behalf. So we think it's best for us to do this.
And you did say, of course, that he was a triplet, and looking through the pictures he sent, like you said, they seem to be always together. I mean, did they all go to high school and then college together also?
Elementary, high school, everything, college, they all went to the same university. Yeah, I mean, everything. We travel, we play, we hike, everything we do is all of us together. I mean, we're a pretty tight family.
Did you say that they were the ones that called you about this happening?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then are you guys all back together now?
We are.
Yeah, we're in our home in northern Idaho, our summer home. We're going to be here for a couple days just to regroup a little.
Yeah.
And can you just tell me a little bit about Ethan? I think I was told he was very athletic. I think he played, was it basketball and tennis or basketball? Just tell me a little about his interests. What did Ethan like to do?
Anything.
You
name it, he played it, literally. Yeah. I think we just watched a thing from the university, spike ball champion, volleyball champion. I mean, right? I mean, he just literally would play and do anything. He played club soccer for years. We traveled, all of our kids are athletic, and we traveled every weekend, and he was involved in anything. He just literally, he was, I don't know.
He just loved to play everything.
He did.
All
He
the
loves
sports.
sports. I mean, our love language with him was sports. Like I literally watched, I follow like NFL football so that I can literally have a conversation with Ethan because I could, you know, send him a text message and, you know, that was you know, I don't know, just everything. I don't know, that and country music. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he's funny. He literally, we were trying to have a conversation really quickly about our favorite memory. We can't come up with one. I mean, he literally lit up every room, everybody. He was friend to all.
Okay, and as much as I hate interrupting these parents right now, but all right, so the CCTV footage that I played didn't indicate anything. So apparently there's more CCTV footage. I'm going to go over that. But yeah, I stand by what I was saying. The only dude in the hoodie that was in that footage wasn't even looking in their direction. So now, after this, I'll go over the full CCTV footage. I just got sent it. So then we will explore that. Okay.
He was an incredible human. I mean, one of a kind, popular. I mean, not that that matters, but I don't know. I think we believe that if you literally asked anybody in his life, anybody, they would tell you the same exact thing. I mean, I just got an email from his counselor at college, and he just said, I loved that kid the minute I met him. He literally walked in my office last week, and it was just simply to say hi. He had a huge smile. The whole, like, you know, the feeling inside of the office changed just because he walked in. Mm-hmm. He always had something funny to say. That's been something we've talked a lot about. I mean, he was definitely the comedian of the three kids. He kept us all, I mean, we have the funniest videos of him.
He's the kind of kid that everybody wanted to be around. You know, he was just a good kid.
He's a good kid.
That
kind to all.
Didn't deserve what happened.
No. Oof.
And wasn't he going to school to study? It was something to do with sports, wasn't it?
Sports management, I think. I don't know the technical title of it. But yeah, I mean, we told him he should go be a teacher and a coach. I mean, he was incredible the way he worked with kids, and he refereed youth basketball on the weekends in Mount Vernon. I don't know, he touched a lot of people. I mean, it's the amount of support that we've seen so far has been incredible. Right? Yeah. Our neighbors, everybody, it's incredible. I mean, we have messages from people that just are like, I knew him and he was incredible. Our daughter knew him, and all she talked about was how great he was. I mean, it's a huge loss. We were at Parents Weekend last weekend with them, and Jim and I left that weekend, and as we pulled out of Moscow, we literally were like, we've done it. We've literally done it as parents. We've created 3 incredible humans that will go on and have something great to offer to this world. Honestly, all 3 of them. We literally had a conversation that we will no longer have to worry about these kids because we did it.
What way, people can support you guys right now?
It's an interesting situation because in all of your hardships in life, whatever you're going through, there's always like an outcome, like you get through it, right? Like, I don't know, whatever it is. This is something you wake up and you realize it's never going to go away, and it's very different. It's a very different 2 a.m. is a dark hour, I can tell you
You
that.
don't know if
We're all-
anybody followed anybody.
And I guess just during
What are
this
you
time,
talking about?
like I said, you guys seem very tight knit. Are you just like, what's going forward look like for you? I know that's a hard question right now. I know it seems like you guys are really there supporting each other through this.
I think one of the first things that, like, when we got Maisie and Hunter, one of the first things, I mean, that came to me is that our life has literally taken a left turn, and I don't know how that's gonna affect us, but we will not let this sink us or sink our kids, because if anything, they have to go on and shine Ethan's bright light on their own.
God, dude, I can't stand when people do
Right now,
this.
unless there's anything else
It's
you guys
so
wanna
annoying.
add.
Kids, do you want us? Our kids are here watching. Do you guys have anything you want to add? Hunter, Maisie? He was their number one, and that's going to be a hard loss for both of our kids. Both Maisie and Hunter. I mean, he was kind of each of their number one. So it's going to be hard just for the three of them without him now that they're two. You know, we've gone from 3 to 2, and it's going to be hard for the 2 kids to figure out how to live life when you've spent 20 years as 3, you know, and now they have to figure out how to be 2 and carry, you know, I don't know. It's terrible. It's important for us. I mean, the reason we've agreed to do this is there's some misinformation out there, and that's been hard for us. And that's why we, as a family, talked about it and agreed to do this.
Listen up.
The things that are being said are 100% not true. There's not drugs involved. There's not some weird love triangle. Ethan stayed the night at his girlfriend's house, who was one of 5 girls who lived in the home. And it's just important that people let the criminal part of it try to work itself out, and that these kids, all of the kids were just really good, great kids. So, I mean, the light of the school, I mean, everybody knew them.
One of them, I believe, was his girlfriend was also killed. Is that correct?
Yes, Xana. Yeah, they were in the same room.
And I think that's all the questions I have, but I really do appreciate you guys sharing more about Ethan so we can understand more about him and share more about him with, you know, Western Washington and the community here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. See, let me address this comment here. This is the kind of thinking that pisses me off. Okay. And nobody knows he did not. Saying that there's no indication, there's no footage saying that this guy followed them. Okay. There is not. So now your argument here is saying that, well, we don't know that he didn't either. But we don't do that here. Okay. We don't assume someone's guilt. We don't assume that somebody did something wrong when we don't have any indication that they did. That's where things get dangerous. And that is where YouTube creators get a bad reputation as a whole. This is how these things turn into something to where investigators start blaming social media for their investigation getting interfered with. This is how this happens. And I'm not going to let that happen here. I'm catching this early, and I'm not going to fucking let it happen here. I'm letting you know right now. Okay? So flip that. This attitude of, well, we don't know that he didn't do it. Okay? We don't think that way here. We assume innocence first. That's what we do here. Okay? If you can't, or if you're incapable of that, this is not the channel for you. Period. So now I will indulge you guys. I have more footage here. Corvette Sally, thank you so much. I will indulge you guys. I will go over that footage. Okay. Maybe I will stand corrected because I haven't seen this full footage yet, but I'm going to go over it. Okay. Now this is 20 minutes long. So, and this is courtesy of Gray Hughes, which does not surprise me at all. Gray Hughes is amazing. Make sure to subscribe to Gray Hughes. Gray Hughes also deals in facts. And I will not even attempt to compare myself to him as a creator. Okay, so here's dude. I guess this is the guy that he's talking about. Puts on a hoodie. And he's just standing back. Does he look suspicious? I guess you could say he could come off as suspicious. And the thing is, you don't even know what his intentions are. Okay? You don't even know what his intentions are. Like, these are college kids. It's a college town. You know how horny guys are in college? Not all of them are date rapists. This guy, for all we know, could just be trying to muster up the courage to talk to one of them and just never does it. Yeah, this is like 20 minutes long. I'm not seeing any indication other than the captions that are showing saying that he came with them. Other than that, I'm not seeing any indication of that. What I'm seeing is he arrived at the same time. But I'm not seeing any indication that he arrived with them because they're not talking to him. He's not talking to them. What do you mean they got there together? They might have got there at the same time, but okay. Now, folks, people, stand by. I count to 10, folks. Count to 10. See this right here? See this right here? Hold on. And what's this tweet right here? Okay. Alexandra Dugan. Dugan reports. Okay. So ISP also confirmed that they've identified the man in the white hoodie in the grub truck video. They have interviewed him. He is not a suspect at this time. Here's the story. Hold on. Let me just hit play here. Hold on. Sorry. I was playing a clip, but it opened a separate window. So let me just read it. Police have now have a clearer idea of the path that was taken of the 4 University Idaho students killed in a homicidal stabbing on November 13th. The victims, 20-year-old Ethan Chapin from Conway, Washington, 21-year-old Madison Mogan from Coeur d'Alene, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle from Post Falls, and 21-year-old Kaylee Goncalves from Rathdrum were all pronounced dead on noon Sunday, November 13th. The Latta County coroner released Thursday. Chapin and Kernodle were at fraternity party at Sigma Chi, located on 735 Nez Perce Drive, between 8 to 9 p.m. on November 12th. Goncalves and Mogan were at the Corner Club and a bar in downtown Moscow, located on 202 North Main Street between 10 p.m. November 12th and 1:30 a.m. November 13th. The two then went to Grub Truck, a mac and cheese food truck near the bars, around 1:30 a.m. That shit sounds good. They were also spotted on a Twitch video stream from the truck, in which they could be seen ordering food and looking visibly happy. Idaho State Police tells KTVB that the man in the dark jacket and light hoodie in the video has been identified and has been interviewed as part of the routine investigation. This is standard action, ISP said. The man arrives when Mogan and Goncalves arrives, waits several feet behind them while they order their food, walks with them, and stands right next to them as they wait for their food, and is seen speaking to other people. He then leaves when the two girls leave, going in a different direction. ISP says he is not a suspect or person of interest at this time, but police do not have a suspect in general. Corner Club owner Mark Trivelpiece said that he did not notice the two women that night in the bar, but that he will not share information on the two's whereabouts or actions because he has a good working relationship with Moscow police and does not want to compromise the current investigation. Trivelpiece said he is still hurting for the victims and the community and hopes to see a resolution in the case soon. People, this is what I'm talking about, okay? Your brains start going because you see a dude standing there, and because somebody goes on social media and goes, who's that guy? Who's that guy? And then your wheels start turning, right? And then what happens if that guy's identity becomes public? Then you're going to get idiot YouTubers who are going to just fixate on him and go, well, law enforcement doesn't know what they're talking about. They're dropping the ball. I think he's guilty anyway. And then this dude gets harassed. We don't do that here. For you motherfuckers in the back with your limited abilities of thinking, okay? With your limited abilities of thinking that is thinking too much. Dude, we don't do that here. I want to be abundantly clear about that. And we're not going to do it moving forward. Get that through your heads. If you can't handle that, this is not the channel for you. Moving on. Let me just get out of that. All right. We already went over the press conference. I think that's all I got on that. People, that dude, that's the thing is if law enforcement releases something and they say, okay, hey, does anybody know the identity of this guy? That doesn't mean that they think he's a suspect. That means, okay, well, his behavior could seem suspicious. Doesn't mean it is suspicious. It just could mean that it's suspicious, but we would be shitty investigators if we did not follow up on it. So we're asking the public, if anybody knows who this guy is, let us know so we could talk to him. And that's it. That doesn't mean that they think he did something. That means let's follow up on every possible lead, anything that might get us answers as to what happened and bring these parents and loved ones peace and justice. That's all that is. That's cops doing their jobs. That's not for you to go, that dude's guilty. He totally did it. What do you think? You think he did it? I think he did it. Do you think he did it? You don't fucking know anything. Like I said, for all we know, this is just some horny college kid who was just staring at one of their butts and was trying to muster up the courage to talk to one of them. And that's it. Happens all the time. Constantly. It happens constantly in college. Constantly. Like, you guys, you can't stay in this tunnel because people end up being further victimized. People who get falsely accused of crimes get further victimized. We don't need any more victims. We already have 4. We don't need any more victims in these situations, people. Okay? It's all I'm asking. It's all I'm asking is for you guys to just use your common sense. Just use a little bit of empathy and common sense. It's not that difficult. And if it's too difficult for you, you got some looking in the mirror to do. You got some self-reflecting to do. Seriously. And it's real simple. All you got to do, put yourself in that person's shoes. You know what I mean? Like, if that's a woman and you're admiring the person's jacket and you're thinking, fuck, man, I really love that girl's jacket. And you're staring at it and somebody catches you on a CCTV camera staring at her jacket because you're like, man, that's just like the one that I really wanted. And it looks so good on her. I wonder how good it would look on me. And you just can't help because you had a few drinks staring at the damn jacket. And then a couple hours later, she's found dead. And then the whole world starts pointing fingers at you going, oh my God, you were staring at her. You were following her, staring at her. And now you're a suspect to what happened to her when all you were doing was just admiring somebody's jacket. That's all you were doing. And now your life's turned upside down over it. Is that fair? Dude, yeah, man. Like, there's an endless, limitless, eternal amount of possibilities as to why somebody would be staring at somebody. Doesn't always have to be with malicious intent. It's not basically common sense. It just is common sense, Bebop. And I agree with you. I'm not barking at you. I'm just heated up right now because, you know, this is the kind of thing that this is the main thing in the true crime community that bugs the fuck out of me. The main thing. Why do you think I'm always going after channels that do this shit? Why do you think the majority of my content is going after the channels that fucking sit there and perpetuate shit like that was starting to happen in my chat? It was making me mad that it was happening in my chat because I like to think that I attract a smarter audience than that. I take pride in it. Susie Miss, I'll move on when I'm ready to move on. If you don't like it, you can leave. No, the video's over, okay? The video has been deemed irrelevant, folks. The video has just been deemed irrelevant. Law enforcement has cleared the guy in the hoodie. He's done. They interviewed him. They found out who he was. They interviewed him. They did their jobs. Moving on. Done. So no, I'm not even going to, I'm not even going to, unless something else pops up in that video, which I feel like it already would have. If there was something else relevant in that video, I'm not going to touch it again. There's no reason to. Exactly, Laura P. I completely agree. I mean, that's it. You know, that's the law enforcement released that video for the simple sake of, if you guys see anything in here, you know, if anybody who knows them sees anything in here, let us know. Something that we may miss because we don't know them. I mean, it doesn't mean, hey, this somebody in that video is guilty. Somebody in that video is responsible for what happened to these poor people. That's not what the purpose of releasing that video is. It's we're asking the public for a little bit of help. No, and I love it. People are still in my chat. People are still, dude, the hood guy was cleared. It's over. The hood guy is irrelevant. He's been identified by law enforcement, and he's been interviewed, and he has been cleared. Period. Done. Over. Back to the drawing board. We're not here to sleuth people. That is not what we're here to do. None of us here are qualified to do that. Okay. Maybe she did. Doesn't matter. He's been cleared by law enforcement. It doesn't matter. It is completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter if they went, hey, and hugged. It doesn't matter. Doesn't even matter at this point if she looked scared of him and ran away. That wouldn't even matter at this point. Why doesn't it matter? Because law enforcement has already identified the guy and cleared him. It's over. Done. People, think. That's what goes on in the true crime community that pisses me off, because now everybody's just like, you don't want to let it go. Even after law enforcement, you have confirmation that law enforcement has cleared the guy. You just want to fixate on it because you want to be right. Because your mind started your wheels started turning, and you just got fixated on the hoodie guy. And now you don't want to be wrong because you put so much energy into thinking about the hoodie guy. That is exactly what is wrong with the true crime community on YouTube. In essence. I don't think they have yet. As far as DNA, I think that, I mean, there's the, hold on a second. We have this. This is the only thing that's been released to the public as far as the autopsy goes that I'm aware of. This is just the It just says the cause of death. Has all of their names, their ages, all of the victims' names and ages, and the place where they were pronounced dead, and the cause of death: homicide, murder, manner of death, stabbing. That's all we know so far. And then there's this. I think that's what I just went over. Yeah, I already went over that. Yeah, as far as what has been made to the public by law enforcement so far, we've gone over it all, people. And I'm going to continue to keep you guys updated as much as I possibly can. Let me see something else here. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go over a 4-hour video. That's not going to happen. Yeah, and I know what's going to happen here, folks. Like, you can count on it. What's going to end up happening here, I'm going to go over all the facts of the case as much, and we're going to be updated as much as possible. A lot of other channels are going to do it. Good channels are going to do it. But then other channels, fucked up, shitty channels are going to go over it and start perpetuating rumors. And then I'm going to go on here and just tear them apart because that's what I always end up doing. So, see, we have to be careful with that. It's not like the Ted Bundy crimes, because this is an isolated incident so far. Until there are more victims, more incidents with the similar MO, we can't compare this fairly to Ted Bundy. It took place in a college. It was a brutal crime. And that's all we know so far. Yeah. And I mean, it seems like law enforcement is doing a great job. If they identified the guy in the hoodie that quickly, good for them. It sounds like they're doing great, considering that that sort of thing just doesn't happen there, and they're not used to that sort of thing. I think it's fantastic that they are taking this crime as seriously as they are. They're clearly doing so. So yeah, man, I'm really, so far, I'm really, based on what I saw on that press conference, I'm really impressed with law enforcement. I'm really impressed with how the school is handling that situation for the rest of the students. I mean, anybody who just wants to go home and take a minute and recover from the trauma of the fear of something like that happening, where they should feel safe, and them giving them that sort of leeway to be able to do that. Good for that school, man. University of Idaho is really impressing me right now, how they're handling that. That administration it's great. So yeah, I think so far, I think law enforcement's doing a great job. Sorry, I'm just looking at chat here. Well, I'm glad you're here, Shar English Rose. And you're right, Corvette Sally. We do not have the right to know all the details of the investigation, no matter what you hear from idiot YouTubers who claim to be press when they're not press, when they're not when they're not investigative reporters as they claim to be. No, you're not entitled to know everything. I mean, if you were like professional reporters who are standing there in a press conference, who are let into press conferences, by the way, because they have the right credentials, and that's why they were actually let in to that press conference. Whenever a law enforcement agent says, I'm sorry, I can't answer that right now because it is still an open investigation and we do not want to hinder our investigation at the moment. You know what those reporters do? They say, okay, thank you. And they move on. They ask another question. That's what they do. They don't go, hey, you don't have the right. You don't have the right to keep that information from us. Bah, 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 through a bullhorn. That's fucking asinine. Like, anybody who thinks, like, it's all you got to do is look at that. Anybody who thinks that that's actual investigative journalism, all you got to do is look at how a professional journalist actually conducts themselves in a press conference. Every single one of them conducted themselves the same way. They might have asked stupid questions. That happens from time to time, but they still conducted themselves in a professional manner, simply accepting the answers that they got, including the answer of, I'm sorry, it's still an open investigation, and in order to not hinder our investigation, we're not willing to answer that at this time. Very simple. Perfectly understandable. Why? Because as members of the public, we want justice, and we count on those charged with the responsibility who are trained to do so to get that justice. That's all we can do. As members of the public, we have to let the people who actually went to school and got the training and have the experience in investigating these types of crimes to get the answers. And sometimes you got to keep things out of the public. You got to keep things quiet and away from the public in order to get the answers needed. Sometimes you got to do that. And since you've never gone to the police academy and you've never put a badge on because you earned it and put on a sidearm because you earned it, because you've never done those things, you have to trust the people that have. That's your responsibility. As a member of the public, that's your responsibility to trust those that have gone through that training and let them do their jobs, period. You're not entitled to answers. You're not entitled to information. You're entitled to information once results happen. Once the results happen, yes, as members of the public, we're entitled to that information. We're entitled to that peace of mind. Was the guy caught? How did you catch him? Cool. Yes, that information we are entitled to at some point. Sure. That's why arrest reports are public record. Those things come out later. But when the investigation is open and they're trying to get those results, well, you got to wait. You got to wait, period. Because they need to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law, if that person pleads not guilty and decides to go to trial, you have to trust law enforcement and the prosecution to be able to present a case and make sure that that person gets locked up, that they get found guilty, that they prove to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that they are guilty. And you have to trust their process in doing so, because you're not trained to do that. It's just that simple. And I don't understand why that's so hard to fathom. I don't get it. Yeah, the internet has changed everything, man. It really has. I mean, but that's the thing. Even still, yeah, the internet has changed everything, but people, as like I said, as members of the public, as citizens, right, as civilians, we can do our part. We can know our place, do our part. Can we talk about it? Sure. Can we speculate based on the facts that have been released to us? Great. Yeah, that's fine. That's what these channels are for. That's fine. Nobody's saying not to do that. I'm saying that if it interferes in any way with with an investigation, with an open investigation that's going to cost these families and loved ones of these victims justice, well, then that's when it becomes a problem. But we can use our common sense and be decent people and do our part to keep these victims' names out there, keep it, you know, like Kaylee's sister, I think her name is Kaylee, sorry. Yeah, Kaylee's sister was saying, you know, she wants everyone talking about this because she wants us to take it personally, she said. And I agree with her. That's what we're doing here. We're simply, we're keeping the lines of communication open and perpetuating the attention on it so that law enforcement has pressure to take this personally themselves and get answers so that she and her family and the other victims' families can get justice. That's all she meant by all of us talking about it. And that's what we're doing here. And that's what we're going to do here. I promise you guys that. And a lot of other channels are going to do it too. But that is the limit of what we should be doing. That is the limit. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead and call it. Make sure to give this a like. It really helps the channel out. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. And I'm going to wrap it up. And we will do this again very soon, my friends.